Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery Podcast. I'm your host, Jersey Ed, along with my co-host, Tiff P. What's up, Tiff?
Hello.
Hello. And we have a special co-host today, Bambi B, who's been just killing her recovery out there. And we asked Bambi to come on to give us a hand today on our topic, Step 7. And I know Bambi's been studying really hard on Step 7. So we'll get back to that in a minute. But I'd like to thank all our donors who made this show possible. To make a donation, you can Venmo us at help. No, God, I'm giving the email address now. This is not good. Venmo us at Friends in Recovery Enterprises and look under business, and you can make a donation there, or you can send a check to F.I.R.E, F-I-R-E, P.O. Box 1551, and that's Johns Island, South Carolina, and just make the check payable to
Ed Giancio?
Ed Giancio. No, please don't. Make the check payable to F.I.R.E or Friends in Recovery Enterprises. I also like to tell you, lovely ladies, that we are now part of the F.I.R.E network. Anybody want to know what that is?
What's the F.I.R.E network, Ed?
The F.I.R.E network, guys, is a network of recovery podcasts that us and SoberPod got together, and we started this network called F.I.R.E Network. And if you would like some more information on it, how you can get your podcast bumped up or more promotion on your podcast through the F.I.R.E network, please email me at help@Friends in Recovery Podcast or info@soberpod.com. And that's help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Either one, Carl or myself, will be helping you guys out with getting involved in the F.I.R.E network. And it's just going to grow bigger and bigger, and it'll grow our podcast bigger and bigger, and it'll get our message out there bigger and bigger. So that's the F.I.R.E network. If you go back to last week's show, Carl and I did about a 5 to 10 minute overview of what the F.I.R.E network is. So check that show out too. So guys, we're going to, this week's topic is Step 7. So stay tuned for some amazing recovery. Did you know, Tiff and Bambi, we have a winner for the Lifebook Recovery workbook?
Who won?
Camden Cathy won the Life Recovery workbook.
Oh, she's gonna love that.
She's
the perfect winner for that workbook.
She is. So Camden Cathy, email me at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com, and I will get you out all that information. I have your cell phone number. I'll call you and let you know anyways.
She's going to love it.
She is. Tiff, I did not get what you were using for the literature. So can you just let us know, with your vast knowledge of AA, what literature you're going to pick out of there today?
So I am going to be using the Life Recovery workbook.
Yes.
The 12 and 12 in the big book today.
Very good. Bambi, you're going to be using the 12 and 12, the Women's Way Through the 12 Steps, and an NA workbook. Is that correct?
I have AA and NA workbooks.
Okay. NA and AA. And I'm going to use the 12 and 12 in the Life Recovery workbook because that's what I normally do every week. So I'm a creature of habit. So, Tiff, would you, sober shout outs real quick. Anybody have a sober shout out today?
I have one. Jimmy H is celebrating as of the 1st of July, 6 months.
Jimmy H. I love you, Jimmy H. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo.
Yay.
Go, Jimmy.
Tiff, anything?
I don't have a sober shout out, but I do want to give a shout out. Last weekend, I tried super hard to do the show from the road.
Yes.
And we were up at this place called Summer Breeze on Lake Mille Lacs. and a giant storm came through, but this little old lady owns this place for the last 20 years. And it's this cute resort. And she was so excited about the podcast. She wanted to be on it so bad. She would ask like 10 different ways from Sunday how she could be on the podcast.
Aw.
So I wanted to give them a shout out because they were very hospitable and worked really hard to try to, after the storm came through, get the internet up and running again so that I could go live. But, you know, it didn't work out, but that's okay. They were
That's
very
okay, yeah.
accommodating to all of our needs, and it was a great place to stay. So
You
summer
still
breeze.
you still got the free room though, right?
Yes, the royalties are still coming in.
Maybe if you had let them on the podcast, you might have
That's
got the free
right. There you
room.
go. Well, thank you, Summer Breeze, for taking care of Tiffany and her family up there. We'll be sure to. They're not a sponsor yet, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. I just want to go through some of these comments real quick. Jordan said hello. She's at the gym. She's one of our avid listeners, just like Bambi is. Who knows, Jordan? You might be a special guest co-host on here one day. Good morning, Carl from SoberPod, and of course, right after that, when I said something about any sober shout outs, I've got SoberPod, and SoberPod. SoberPod from Carl.
Did you say SoberPod?
I did say SoberPod. So that's enough of shout outs for Carl and SoberPod. That's all in the Facebook Live stuff. So you are one crazy guy, Carl. And also, guys, if you want to get a hold of Carl at info@soberpod.com. He said, don't forget SoberPod too. You can find out about the F.I.R.E network from Carl. Carl and I put the whole sober network thing together. So just get a hold of either one of us. It's really taking off. We have a bunch of people already that want to get into this sober network. So we can have everybody kind of all in one
benefit
place.
from all the broad
Exactly.
listeners across all of the platforms. So that'll be
There you
really
go.
good.
There you go. That's it. So without further ado, guys, here it is.
Question of the week.
That's right. So, guys, the question of the week is, who are the greatest three musicians of all times? And of course, this is only in our opinion. If you listen to some of these 4th of July weekend stuff, you know, that's going on, you know, they're going to have the best song of the year, the best song of all times, whatever. So I figured that this would be a great question for the 4th of July that just passed. And for you guys listening on Facebook, it really didn't pass. This is going out on Tuesday, so just got to make believe. But who are the greatest three musicians of all time? And I'm going to start with our special guest today, because she thanked it, whatever you want to say. And I think she has probably enough of guests that enough of musicians for Tiffany and myself. So go ahead, Bambi. What's your who's your three?
Okay, so I did have to overthink it because that is my alcoholic mind, right? You have to overthink. So
Yes.
I came up with three right away, and then I got rid of those three. And then I came up with three more, and I got rid of those three. And then I went back to some of them. But I decided that you have to go with, since you said of all time, Beethoven. Got to be in there. Because, right, where music began way back, right? So Beethoven. And I'm a piano girl, used to play when I was young. Then it's got to be Elvis for my mama. You know,
there you go.
You got to be Elvis, because he brought rock to us as we know rock now, right? And then this is going to throw you for a little loop. But then I thought of Hank Williams, because he's made country what country is today.
Wow.
So they've opened up the world for the other music to become in our lives. So that's my spiel.
Very good. That's like completely all over the place. That's really good. That she definitely overthunk that one. So God. How about you, Tiff?
Well, I have to be a true Minnesotan, and I have to go with Prince.
Oh,
I have to give him that.
Oh my God.
You know,
yeah.
Made a huge difference. You know, especially with his style and just just everything, especially, you know, when we're talking about recovery and how he died and things like that. There's just a lot of things that I think, a lot of reasons that I picked him, not just because I'm from Minnesota. He is a great musician and did change everything. The second one I picked was Johnny Cash.
Ooh.
Because like Bambi had said about country, he kind of was a mesh between Elvis and Hank Williams, and made a big difference, in that aspect. And then I had to go with, it was a toss up between Madonna and Aretha Franklin. But I picked Aretha.
Yeah.
I'm going with Aretha.
RESPECT.
Yeah. So I just think that she did a lot culturally and, brought a whole different aspect to music. And so, those are the three I picked.
Amen.
What I got, man.
Three.
I could have went on
good.
Madonna, Elton John, there's all these things, everybody would say how many people would say Led Zeppelin or, Pink Floyd.
I know.
But those are my three. Those are my three.
Very good three.
I love them.
Yeah. So my three guys, for my three greatest musicians at all times, I'm going to combine two in one because I think this is a team that you really can't have one without the other. And you'll know who I'm talking about. It's my favorite group ever, Lennon and McCartney. You cannot have Lennon without McCartney. You cannot have McCartney without Lennon, especially for the Beatles, because when the Beatles wrote their music, it was usually John and Paul writing. Paul might have wrote some songs, but they both gave each other credit together, no matter who wrote the song. That's number one. And I think that is such a great teamwork of working together and not just wanting to take credit. Oh, I wrote that song, he didn't. You know what I mean? So it's if you look at the credits, it's always Lennon and McCartney. It's never Lennon or never McCartney, always Lennon and McCartney. And I think that's some great collaboration there. And Bambi, I'm going to have to agree with you. I did write down Beethoven. Beethoven started it all for like way back when, and he was blind or deaf or whatever he was. Just an amazing composer, right? Just an amazing composer Beethoven was. So I did have to go agree with you on that one. And I know this is going to be a little controversial, but Jersey Ed would not be controversial without pulling something weird shit out of his ass. But I'm going to have to say Kid Rock, guys. Kid Rock did a lot for rap, country, rock, pop. He brought all those genres together and really kind of ran with it, and I really love the way he writes his music, and I think he's just an amazing writer, as far as lyrics goes and music goes too. So
I thought you were going with Taylor Swift.
Oh my God, Taylor Swift. Carl goes, ew. Kid Rock, right?
Well, Kid Rock might not be a bad choice, Ed, except he's from Michigan, and
yes,
I'm a Buckeye. So,
wow, that's all right. Corey said, Kid Rock so disappointed in you, Ed.
I thought you were going to go with like Bon Jovi or like something weird when you said controversial, or like I said, Taylor Swift. I was like, where's he going with this?
Listen, you're right, Tiff and Bambi. You guys hit it right on the head. Like, there's so many, we can do a month-long show on all this, but we just got to kind of make decisions, just like we have to make decisions in our recovery, right? We good choices, bad choices. My sponsor always tells me, the first thought that comes into my head may not be the right thought, but afterwards, the thoughts after, we can change them, and that's what recovery is. And, we don't have to be bound to these three musicians, right? I listen to Soul Cycle radio sometimes in the car. It's all different. It's what music is the way, for me anyways, music is the way I'm feeling, when I'm feeling, why I'm feeling. I am the classic rock guy. You can tell by my hair, right? But it's just when I feel like what I like listening to. And so that's it on that. Tiff, real quick, I forgot, we have to talk about our social media. Can you give us an update, and then we'll get on to step 7?
Oh, just don't forget to like and subscribe and join us on all of our social media accounts. Of course, we are on Facebook. Search for Friends in Recovery Community. Join us, obviously, on YouTube. We want you to like and subscribe there. That's our biggest way to, other than the F.I.R.E network now, to reach out to people in the recovery community. and Instagram, of course, all the regular social media outlets. Join us, like us, subscribe, follow, do all those things, and share. So
That's right.
don't forget us. Like, subscribe, comment,
There you go. That is
rate.
it. Oh, wait.
Don't forget to rate us.
Oh yeah. 5-star review.
Yeah, 5-star review.
Don't rate us. Give us a 5-star review.
Last we checked, we are still number 27 on the recovery podcast list.
We want to be number one. We want F.I.R.E Network to be number one, guys. So, all right. Step 7. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings, right, guys? So that is step 7. So I did a couple things here on step 7. Shortcomings. Like, I remember early in recovery when I was working step 7, and of all people, right? I asked my mom, what's a shortcoming? I don't understand what it is, right? And I don't remember what her answer was, but God bless her. I love her. And she probably came up with some whatever answer, because I still couldn't figure out what a shortcoming was, right? And still, shortcomings, it might be a little confusing to people. So I wanted to get the definition down. Shortcoming is the quality or state of being flawed or lacking. It's just something that an imperfection or lack that distracts from the whole. That's the other definition. I don't know if that clear.
Character defect.
Character defect in our language, a character defect, which we just worked on in step 6, if I'm not mistaken, right? We wanted to have God remove all of our character defects. And step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings, right? So the shortcomings, again, 6 and 7 definitely go hand in hand. And I didn't do too much prep on step 7. I didn't even work.
6 is when we talk about our list, right? We are entirely ready to go through that list of character defects and are willing to have God remove them all, right? And then this is the actual action step, where we're actually giving them to God, right? And so we're choosing going forward now to live in a different way. We're gonna surrender to how God is leading us. And that's because he has removed, of course, all of those shortcomings or those character defects that we have talked about before. And so there's specific actions you take, according to the big book, to remove these shortcomings. And, you say the prayer, and this step is all about humility. So you're right, Ed. They do go hand in hand.
See that? I know something about recovery.
Yes. And, it is confusing because Bill W. does interchange words a lot throughout the big book. And this is one of those where he uses them interchangeably. The shortcomings, character defects. Really what happened when Ed and I got to actually go visit a secret vault of Bill W.'s things. There were notes that he had written. And the reason that he did that is because he just didn't want to use the same word twice, 2 steps in a row.
That's right. So, yes.
Yeah. So there are specific reasons that he, changed the words, but they really are the same. And this is the action piece of, before we were entirely ready, addressed all the things. And now we're just actually really surrendering to them and surrendering to God and moving forward in his will to do his bidding.
Well, like you said, Tiff, step 6 is where we wrote everything down, where we kind of did all that. Step 7 is, again, just letting that go, basically letting that shit go. Right. There's really no, I don't want to say there's really no action. We're not physically writing anything down. We're just actually saying, asking him to relieve our shortcomings. And again, just a reminder, and I hear this over and over and over again, these steps, we don't have to do perfect, except step 1. Step 1, we have to get perfect on a daily basis. And I'm not one to push, perfectionism, because that's one of my character defects. It's one of my shortcomings. But if we don't do step 1 perfectly, know that we're powerless over alcohol and our lives have become unmanageable. It's step 1, right? I can't remember. My mind's going a million miles an hour. But that's the only way we have to get perfectly. These other steps, and I think we even talked about it in step 4, we can go over and do this again. We don't have to just sit in it and get it perfect. And that's the other thing. Don't let your character defects or your shortcomings get in the way of thinking that you're not doing this step right, or you're not doing it wholeheartedly. Because there's going to be times in your life that different things are going to come up, different character defects, different shortcomings are going to keep popping up in your life in different times in our lives. And we have to just kind of remember that too.
And you'll notice different things like, do I get too stressed out? Am I too emotional, right? Do I worry a lot? Am I stubborn? Am I shy? All those things kind of go along with those, along those lines. And they're going to come up at different times in our life, and we identify different ones. So this is still, again, we're growing, but we admitted we were entirely ready, right? Previous to this step. And now we're going to continue going forward to just ask God to remove them as we identify them. We'll start with our initial lists and move forward with some humility. And, from there, we'll keep growing. Right.
Yeah.
And, Tiff, as the history buff, I found when I was researching this, that there was an article, someone was interviewing Bill, and he actually said that he wrote the 12 and 12 because people were not doing a thorough 6 and 7.
Right.
And he felt like that was so important to do the steps and to do them in the order that he had laid out, that was crucial to the success of the program overall. But he actually wrote the 12 and 12 because of 6 and 7.
That's exactly right. And that's also why he started, with the grapevine and things like that, with all these articles and publishing all these things. Again, another layout and a caveat to the original big book, that the importance of doing the steps the right way in order, and making it easier for people to, maybe not easier isn't the right word, but giving people more guidance. So this 12 and 12 for me is priceless, because it gives you exact instructions and it breaks down each step, other than just like if you were to look in the big book and find where step 7 is, the only place that you find it is on page 76.
Yeah. It's like a paragraph, I think.
Yep. It's a paragraph long, and it's where it says, and this is what I have written down. Here's where I see God start to work when I get out of the way. This is an easy but dangerous place to balk. So again, going back to why Bill wrote steps, or the 12 and 12, it's a dangerous place to block, because if we balk at this step and think it's something easy that we can just pass over, I can just do this one quickly, and it's not a well thought out plan. It specifically says in the 12 and 12, we risk the chance of drinking or using, relapse. Because we didn't do it right. We want to walk forward with humility, self-awareness.
And let's talk about what you just read. Let God do his or her job, basically, right? Let God do his or her job, and let me get out of the way. Because when I start putting my hands in on things, that's when shit happens. That's when I leave stuff out of my shortcuts. When well, that's not a shortcoming. My perfectionism, I have to do that for my job, my nag, whatever it is. We can identify, we can justify, not identify. I can justify a million different ways. If you tell me what one of my shortcomings are, Tiff, no, that's not it. I have to do this because, my wife wants me to do these certain ways, or, the dog, whatever it is, I'll justify anything, if I think it's going to benefit me, if I'm not thinking right, especially when I was drinking, because it was all about me justifying my use and hiding it from you, and letting you know that I am that I have none of these shortcomings. I'm not that person. I don't need you people, right? I don't need those
and control.
Steps. Yeah, control. Hey,
right?
Control.
Not accepting where, I always thought that I could influence everything, that this path wasn't already, laid out for me. I thought I was the most influential person in my path. And I was in a lot of ways, and it led to a series of poor choices, a lot of poor choices. But if I can sit back and get out of the way, and especially, tame my control issues, like I said before, in the statement that I've written down, it's I have to get out of the way so that I can let the path go the way it's supposed to go, that I can accept that I'm here where my 2 feet are planted right now, And this is how it's going to go. It doesn't matter how slow the traffic is, how fast the traffic is, who's around, who's in the car, what's happening. That I can just sit back and just accept life on life's terms.
Well, don't sit back too far from the mic, because then our people won't be able to hear you. So, and that's true, Jordan.
I think though the hardest part. I just think that the hardest part too is that it's in God's time. We ask for this relief of our character defects, but that doesn't mean that we're going to be cured of them right then.
Mm-hmm.
It may take years to get rid of some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So again, it's that, and we're alcoholics and addicts, and we want things when we want them. We want them now,
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, I'm saying this 7-step prayer, and now where's your part, and so it's taken that step back, and he may relieve us from some of our character flaws now. It may be years, who knows? It's in his time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living on his time. You said it right there. We're no longer using God as that bush league pinch hitter that we used before, right? Only when we were in times of trouble, or we were making false promises or things like that. We're really living and doing his bidding and accepting life on the terms of whatever our higher power is.
I remember the prayers. God, if only the dope dealer comes this one time, I promise I'll stop. This is it. I just need one more time. Just one more time. Or please let the liquor store be open at 10:01 because I was fucked up and I couldn't get out the door fast enough. But real quick, I want to, Jordan said something real quick here. Wow, powerful statement. Once we get out of the way, that's when God starts. And that's what that's what we're talking about, is control and letting that control go. And then she also said the control, the control side of ourselves. And that's it. And Bambi, you're right. These things will come when they come. But if we try to control them, if we try to will them, if we try to, say, okay, this is how it's going to go, this is why it's going to go, they don't usually come. They might come half-ass. Or they might come here and there. But the minute we give up that control and we humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings, life gets better. Because you know what?
We're open to a lot more help.
Exactly.
Right? We're getting his help.
That's exactly what I was
We're accepting help from other people that he's put in our path. Identifying that, that they've been put in our path, and we're accepting of all these things. And so life does get a lot easier and a lot better. Like you said, Ed, I mean, that's a powerful thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just to get out of our own way.
Yes.
We're giving him all of us, all the good and all the bad. And who's to say what's good and bad? Something that I may think is an asset, he may say, oh no, you need to stop some of that stuff. So it goes back to that control, and what we think is good and what we think is bad. We're giving him all of us. He's got us all.
And baby, that brings up a good point, because, the things that we think we need in our lives, right? Like, oh my God, there's a difference between needs and wants. And this is a big part of this step too, needs and wants. Well, I need, I need food, I need clothing, I need shelter. I want a 72-inch TV. I want a Rolls Royce, right? But now, when does that need become when does that want become a need when we're not thinking this clearly? Well, I only make X amount of dollars a year, and I'm going to go buy a $500,000 car. Like, I know I can convince myself, not that I can afford a $500,000 car, but I know I convince myself to take a loan out to try to get that car and say it's a need for me. That Rolls Royce is a need for me. It is not a need. The needs are, for me, is love, is family, of course, shelter, food, basic stuff. But when I overlook my wants for needs, that's when my life starts getting really fucked up, right? That's when life gets a little confused, and that's when I have to figure out, are these my shortcomings? What's going on with all this stuff? Where does that line blur? And how do I stop that blur of that line? And that's when I humbly ask God to remove my shortcomings, so I can see what I really need versus what I really want.
And being specific too, really self-awareness and identifying what those shortcomings are, because this is just like, this step is just like, if we were in a position where this same higher power or God relieved us of our alcoholism, why wouldn't we believe he could relieve us of our shortcomings? we do get stuck in those ways, right? That's how I identified. This is who I am, right? I am that sassy, tough, brazen, short-haired,
Short-headed.
quick,
I'm a short-headed.
quick-witted, sometimes too direct, a little abrasive, and I do believe, and I know it. I've witnessed it. I've changed so much dynamically over the last 3 years because of this step specifically, that it's incredible. I never thought that this would happen to me. Never.
No.
I can actually bite my tongue, believe it or not. I can bite my tongue.
I know. And that is. Yeah. And I
that's
agree
hard.
with you. Oh yeah. Yeah. So
that's hard.
I think you stick around more and more. I want to get back to something that you said that was really important here, Tiff. Like if we can do step 1 perfectly every day, right? And think about this. Think about our beginning at the beginning of recovery. We thought, at least I thought, of drinking and using and everything on a minute to minute basis. And even when I was using, I was still thinking how I was going to get the next fix, go next bar. What time does this bar close? If I go to Staten Island, as a bar's open later in Jersey, I go back and forth, and that crazy. If you live near 2 states that have different, it's this craziness. If we can have God stop and help us with our alcoholism and our drug addiction and any other addiction, and stop that, shortcomings should be no problem, right? Shortcomings should be no problem. But here it is. The alcohol was a symptom, right? Is that alcohol is a symptom. This is the problem right here, our thinking. Because when I get into my mind, when I keep thinking and going through everything, that's when it becomes a problem. I'm thinking my way through bullshit. I'm thinking my way through all the negativity. I'm trying to convince myself that maybe something in the future that may or may not happen is going to happen, or I identify myself with somebody else's loss or somebody else's, whatever. But this step, humbly, and I think you have the definition, Bambi, of humble. Can you read that?
Yes, I have 2 definitions, the Oxford and the Webster, because they were so different. So the Oxford definition of humbly, in a way that shows or suggests a modest or low estimate of one's importance, meekly. Webster definition, not proud or haughty, not arrogant or assertive, reflecting, expressing, or offered in spirit or deference.
So it's really about character building is what that means to me, right? Like this step is where I really identified who I really am, who I really was underneath that mask of addiction and, substance use disorder. Who is Tiffany really without that mask on, right? And it changed my heart. It definitely changed my heart. I became more open, and loving. I became more caring. And I thought I was a caring person, but I wasn't. I was selfish. I was selfish before. But I truly became a loving, warm, caring individual. And it built my character and opened my eyes to all the possibilities. And again, gave me a firm belief even more in my higher power. In my higher power, because I wanted these things to happen because I could see results immediately when I did these 2 steps appropriately.
And also the relief that we get. Jordan says the problem is the thinking. Wow, that hits home. And that's what this is about, is the thinking, our ego, our want to be right. I know better than you. I'm more of a professional at it than this is. We have to have an open mind to a lot of things too. We have to stop the stinking thinking, right? Isn't that one of our slogans? Stinking thinking. But here's what I just wrote down, or we were talking about earlier, was, if you don't humble yourself, humility will sure set in, right? Humiliation will sure set in. So the difference between humbling and humiliation is what I did to myself when I was drinking and using and trying to be right. I remember a certain point in my life at a certain age is that I always thought I was right when I was younger, and what the hell do you know when you're younger, right? And then there was a point when somebody said, no, you're wrong about that. I must have been an early teenager, or maybe 10 or 11, when I distinctly remember somebody saying, no, you're wrong about that. I'm thinking to myself, the hell I am. My mom and dad always told me I was right. And that's sometimes the problem, is that when we're growing up and we're getting
Yes.
fed this bullshit, everybody hits on the baseball team, everybody gets a medal, everybody gets a trophy. Well, that's not how fucking life goes, guys.
Everybody wins.
Yeah,
No,
everybody
it's
wins. That's not, no, that's not how life goes, man. And this is, I always say this, we all get handed shit sandwiches. How fast do you eat them, and what do you drink them down with, right? And to get the taste out of your mouth really quick, because we can sit on our shit and we can eat those shit sandwiches, but you know, the humility is, okay, I did that, I got through it, I'm moving on to the next thing. The humiliation is, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Oh my, the victim role. This is a perfect.
Yeah, I did this. I did that. Right. I'm not worthy because I did these things.
Exactly.
I'm so shameful and guilty and humiliated by the things I did.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't need to feel that way. You're forgiven. You're done. That's
immediately forgiven. Yes.
Immediately.
Yes. And Tiff, I think
this step is our first sense of compassion for ourselves, I think.
Yes. Absolutely.
This and step 4 too. Yes.
But I think I was texting you the other day or yesterday about something I didn't know what I did wrong or whatever. And, you know, it dawned on me. I'm like, well, you know, if I didn't do anything wrong, then what am I like?
What are you measuring up to?
Exactly. And that's the victim bullshit too. I'm playing sometimes, you know, and I have to catch myself. But you know,
it's how we're raised too, right?
Exactly.
Those values are instilled in us. And so this is another timeline thing where we really have to dig deep and say, you know, a lot of the reason that I'm so self-sufficient and don't rely on help is because of how I grew up. And I have to let that guard down. I got to break away all those walls, right? And be able to do those things and ask for help. And rely on others. Yeah.
Well, let's think about this. The way we grew up, the way we were told, and some of us got praised. Oh, you know, everybody has some. When some of us got beat down, right? Some of us didn't get anything. Think about it. I never got praised. I remember I was playing football, and I was not. Listen, I was not a sports kind of kid when I was growing up, because first of all, I believe my dad was never there for me. So I didn't really, my dad was a big sports guy growing up. He was very athletic. I was, but my dad wasn't there. And I remember playing football. We won a major tournament. And I was on the field when we won, and I was wearing I still remember my dad's orange sweatshirt because it was cold out and I had it under. And we were going nuts. And I'm looking in the stands for my mom and dad, and they were not there. I was like, what an alone, shitty feeling, you know, and they were just doing their life thing, right? They're doing their life thing. But think about it. That affected my life from that point on to today, right till today, you know. Now I can either use that as, you know, poor me, or I can use that, okay, that's what it was. I'll get through it, and I'll make myself better. You know what I mean? So, you know,
it's interesting going through all these steps, you know, becoming more self-aware, but also having awareness of others and accepting the fact that they did the best that they could with what they had. Of
course. Yeah.
You know, I used to play that blame game and victim role for the longest time. Well, I do this because this happened to me. So that's why I do that. Right. All those justifications and things like that. Right. So that's why. Well, what was I doing about it? I wasn't doing no step 7. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But now that I have, it's like, okay, I understand. Like everybody has these issues, right? It's not just me. Everybody's got these different backgrounds and things that have influenced their life. And hey, maybe the people who raised me, whoever they were,
it's all
raise your hand as soon as you show up. I'd love to send you a Mother's Day and Father's Day card. But anyway,
Tiff goes broke on Mother's Day and Father's Day with all the postage.
I'll be waiting for my inheritance.
Yeah. Good luck.
But anyway, everybody, I got the best what I could have been offered at the time, and that's okay. It's having acceptance of others, having that humility also to accept others, and that they did the best that they could with what they had.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. The best of what our parents can do. And some people get amazing parents and they thrive on things. And some people do have amazing parents and they become an addict, alcoholic. You know, I remember I hear stories saying I had the best life growing up. I had the best this, I had the best that. We had, you know, private schools, this, that, and the other thing. And they're here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. How insane is that, right? Money can't buy us happiness. You know, I truly believe, like I said before, is my needs versus my wants, right? And I think early on, my needs and wants got confused. You know, I think at an early age, I had to figure out my needs weren't being met. So now I have to go to the want pile and find out, okay, well, I want this, I want that, because I'm not getting my needs met. And when you get your wants, like material things, money, whatever it is, sort of feels good at the time, but it's not what our needs were. You know, it's what our wants were. And then it can get very confused later on in life, especially if you're an addict or alcoholic. It can get completely confusing what your needs and wants are, you know, sexually, monetarily. I mean, I hear people telling stories of you know, their career was everything they had. You know, they missed their families growing up, they missed this, they missed that, and but they, you know, there's $1 million in the bank. And my therapist always told me, Ed, don't be the richest guy in the cemetery. It's bullshit. Don't be the richest guy in the cemetery, you know? So we have to really figure out how to humble ourselves. And it's okay maybe just to take a day off or take a break or not be that corporate driven type person, whatever it is, you know, or that, you know, I don't know, whatever it is.
It's okay
you know?
to have some balance.
It is.
It's all right. You don't have to live up to these false expectations that you're putting on yourself. And when we have those expectations, it just leads to disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
So let's not be disappointed. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people think that step 5 is where like we were just like totally accepted and absolved of all of our stuff that we did wrong. It's this one, right? This is where our sins go away, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm accepting what I did. I'm accepting that, you know, it's okay, right? That was a shortcoming. Some of the things that I did, they were symptoms of my disease because of my compulsion or addiction or dependency or whatever you want to call it. But I don't need that to identify me anymore going forward. I can let that shit go.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, we're going to say that prayer and we're going to say that, but it's hurry up and wait. You know, we're going to hurry up and get through this and we're going to say the prayer and we're going to expect miracles to happen right away. And it just doesn't happen that way. And
it won't if you don't do the work.
And it doesn't, right? You have to do the work and it will happen. But Ed, I got to say, I'm one of those people. I had amazing parents growing up. So, and I'm still sitting here.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. This disease
didn't
does
matter
not discriminate.
Anything. You know, I didn't have the most amazing parents growing up, but it didn't stop me from being that self-sufficient, successful professional that I strove to be the best, you know, and put your head down and go to school, go to college, get all the degrees, you know, go get to the top of the corporate ladder. And, you know, and then when you don't want that anymore, you know, go into nursing and then become an administrator and then run the whole show and like all this stuff. And then that doesn't work anymore because that's too much stress. Now, what am I doing? I'm on a podcast, right? No, I ended up in treatment.
Yeah. So I'm right there with you. Did the exact same.
Well, again,
road,
that's our wants and our needs. You were looking for your needs through your wants.
I thought I needed to be something else. I had a different idea of what I should be. I was shooting all over myself. Based on, you know, what I didn't want to be. And all that happened is I became all those didn't wants and more. So
absolutely.
Well, those needs always kind of go away anyways, right? I mean, the wants are always there. Our wants, or I mean, you know, our needs are always there. Our wants will always go away. A car can only last for so long until the new car comes out. A big screen TV can last so long until a bigger screen TV comes out. You know, the latest and greatest whatever, it can only last so long. But our needs are very basic. Love, kindness, caring. That will never fucking go away, guys. If you're in the right state of mind, if you're humbly asking him to remove all your shortcomings, all those needs, they come flooding back, and all those wants get put on a shelf, And we don't need that big screen TV anymore. We don't need the latest and greatest car, whatever it is.
Speaking of cars, think of this.
Oh,
Look at
speaking
this.
of cars, yes.
Listen to this, right? Okay. Chris and I we've bought on our own 3 individual cars, brand new. I'm thinking to myself, why? Oh, just so you know, y'all, we have 2 locations of car dealerships. Over 44 cars on the lot. We have more cars than most dealerships do. Okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why do we own these vehicles? Why are we paying for this stuff? Why are we doing that? I don't need this. I don't need the Mercedes. When I have, we have 12 Mercedes sitting at the freaking dealership. Why do I need to drive one of my own? Right? Like, what does that make sense? I'd rather be happy and not have the stress of owning all of that shit and just use what's right in front of me. And it doesn't need to be a Mercedes. It could be anything. I don't care as long as I get from point A to point B, right? And it's reliable. But again, needs versus wants. I was trying to control my own destiny. When I was handed all this stuff is sitting right in front of me, why couldn't I just open my eyes and see it?
Yeah.
You know, but there it is, just waiting.
You know, and Tiff, you made a point about climbing up the company ladder and the corporate ladder and doing this and doing that. And me too. I worked hard my whole life, right? I still work hard to this very moment. I work hard at whatever I do, you know, but if I just stop and think my basic needs, all I need is just the love, right? And there's nothing better than just feeling the love from, you know, my daughter when, you know, I had to yell at her this morning because she took my car, my wallet was in it. But you know what? That's out of love when I told her that, you know, when I told her that this morning, it's out of love, not I need my car back. I want, you know, her and I, you know, it was just, you know, kind of out of love. They said, please ask me next time. You're more than welcome to take my car, but it's my car. Ask me. And that's where that magic comes in. You know, oh, she took my car because it's a Bentley. My car is not a Bentley. It's a Jeep. You know what I mean? You know, she's going to proudly display her dad's car in the middle. No, that's not what it's about. You know, it's about the needs. You know, she, if she asked me, it would have been fine, you know? But that's where this humble stuff comes in, where I can just honestly say, just ask me next time.
Let's just have a conversation. I don't need to freak out about it.
No, exactly.
You know, just understand here's where we're at and this is what we're doing and this is where we're going and here's why, right?
Exactly.
So,
well, how does step 7 play into your lives, ladies? How do you do you ask God to humbly remove your shortcomings on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis? I don't know. What's your thoughts on this? And again, everybody's program is different, but what's your thoughts on this?
So I do it every morning.
Okay.
Every morning, because, you know, I use that journal. I've talked about it before, the 12-step journal. And so I review my day at the end of each night, you know, and look there. And then when I wake up, what I've identified through that day, you know, I pray about it that night, but then I also wake up the next morning. You know, and because I want to turn those shortcomings into assets, those things. And then it happens throughout the day. You know, I can identify and be self-aware when something's happening to me. Oh, this is one of those things that I'm working on, right? This is one of those character defects. This is one of those shortcomings, right? I can be too sensitive. God help me here, right? Remove this from me or remove this worry or stress. I do it throughout the day, but I do it every morning when I meditate, 6:20 every morning, 6:20 a.m. folks, and every night before I go to bed.
And I do it every night. I'm a night person. I do my 10-step inventory every night, and I go through, I actually have a worksheet. It's so crazy, but you know, I'm so, you know, it keeps me, I don't know if you can see it, but it says like, was I resentful of who? Was I dishonest? How? Was I selfish? How? Was I fearful of what? Am I obsessing about anything? Am I keeping any secrets? Did I cause any harm? Do I owe an apology? Was I kind and loving toward all? And what could I have done better? Until I started doing this every day, I thought I was doing a 10-step. You know, I thought I was doing this inventory every night till I started actually putting it down on paper. And for me, that was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I did this and I did that. And you know, and it says, you know, that all of those can come back to our shortcomings or to, you know, our character defects. If we're feeling fearful, why am I fearing fearful? That's going to come back to me somehow. And I have really learned that it always does come back to me, always.
Yeah.
And I can figure that out now.
Well, what's the
That's why
underlying issue?
daily.
I like what you're doing, Bambi. I like that you keep those sheets and stuff, because with this journal, and this would be a good giveaway. And guys, with F.I.R.E, we'll have this like members only section where we'll identify all of our resources, and you'll have these tools, right?
Shared resources, yeah.
We'll be sharing our resources, but this 12-step journal has exactly what you said in there, Bambi. And then it lets me sit at night and just lightly plan out my day for the next day.
Mhm.
Right.
I love it.
But it asks those things with that personal inventory and things like that. And it also keeps me on track for what I'm grateful for, what I've had to accept today. It gives you a good question to start journaling, a small journaling section, a sobriety tracker. Like the journaling section on this question today says, how can I be a better friend? And it's just a small question to answer.
That.
Isn't it nice?
And what is that called? I think I got that. You asked me to order that. Yeah, the
12-step journal.
Yep. That's
so
a great
you can
book.
you can either Google 12-step journal. Otherwise it's they have a website.
I got mine on Amazon. I think I have to start using that. Yeah. That's actually a good tool. I do something like that. I call it my daily roadmap. Like I write down what I have, like what I do during the day. But I'm an early morning guy, so I don't like. I do everything early morning to get my day going and reflect on my day before and all that, and what I'm going to do the day of. And I do all that in the morning, with my meditation and that. But also writing it down too helps, because we can see things.
You can see it. That's why this has a weekly check-in and a monthly review.
Yeah.
So you go back and look
that up again.
Yes, it's called the 12-step journal.
If anyone's brother happens to be watching this podcast, it would be a great gift to send a sister.
There you go.
I had to convince my brother to come on here, Ed, because I talk about this Friends in Recovery and Ed and Tiff and all these people, and I had to convince him you weren't some crazy cult leader, and we weren't in this Friends in Recovery
Look
cult.
into my eyes.
So, yes.
Look into my eyes. You are now part of the cult.
So you can go to 12, the numbers 12stepjournals.com. And they have all sorts of different journals on there. But I just love that. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. And it was a mistake that I ordered on Amazon.
Wow.
Once I did my addict behavior, my compulsive video in the beginning, when I started ordering everything on Amazon online.
Going crazy. Yeah. Beth, real quick, Beth says, reevaluate my defects daily. Sometimes Allie have to pray, not only remove my defects, but recognize them. Recognize them is very, very important. Needs versus wants. Resentments are huge for Beth. And Jordan says that's a great point. Resentments do creep in, right? When we have our needs versus wants. And if we get them too confused, like my needs versus my wants, right? And if I'm not getting my wants, I can hold a fucking resentment like the size of a fucking, I don't know, whatever.
And that shit rolls downhill.
Oh, it does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Stacey and your friends and everybody
absolutely. 100%. Absolutely.
Me too.
But
it's never my fault.
No. But think about that. If we just ask him to remove our shortcomings, it's very, very simple, right? If we ask him to remove our shortcomings or humbly remove our shortcomings, then we don't have to go that far. I don't have to piss off my wife. I don't have to piss off Tiffany. I don't have to piss off, the work, the kids, the everything. I could have gotten to a big fight with my daughter, told her to bring the fucking car home, get my wallet back here. I don't give a fuck if you're late for work. Get your own goddamn car and take it to work. I chose not to do that today, right? I chose not to do that today. This girl made a decision, probably wasn't the right one. I don't make perfect decisions, but she went and took the car without asking me. It's not the end of the fucking world. I drive 10 minutes up the road to get my wallet and life is good. Her and I have a talk. We bond together, and now she knows to ask.
Yep. Good learning experience.
Exactly.
Look at all the positives that came from that one situation.
Yeah, from that one little situation. How crazy,
you turned it all into assets.
Exactly.
And it's teaching her ways to handle things. It's teaching her the and maybe next time when the same situation or a similar situation, she's going to handle it much better because of the way you handle it.
Exactly.
It's that, mentality that things happen to me, No, they don't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not snake bitten. Not all these bad things happen all, just because I'm me, so nobody's out to
life
get
happens
me.
for me, not life happens to me and not, oh no, life happens for me and not to me. Right. Is
Yes.
that
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
saying,
Yes.
and you're right. And we all learned it, we all learned, because think about that. If I made her turn around, she would have been late for work. Right. So that would have affected her and her friend that were in the car. It would have affected the boss
They
because
would
I
have been
made her turn around.
crying,
They would have been
upset all
crying.
day.
They would
She
have
would
been
have had a
talking.
resentment towards you.
Exactly, right. And we just say, okay, I'm gonna swallow my pride. I'm gonna be humble here. Let her take the car. She made a mistake, right? And I think about that where we can apply that in every part of our life, right? Every single part of our life, even opening the refrigerator door. Oh my God, my wife didn't buy cheese today. Honey, how come you didn't buy cheese? What the hell? And then that could roll, shit can roll downhill and, and blah, 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 and not have a good time. So you open the door. Oh, she didn't buy cheese. Okay. I'll run to the store and get cheese. That just stops it right there. But us
And
as addicts and
it's not always
alcoholics.
our first thought. It's not always our
No,
first thought.
it is not.
Right?
No, it is not.
Our first thought can be very different, but we can change how we react.
We have to
Exactly.
pause, you have to pause and think and ask God's will, not our mind, be done.
Yeah.
And the more I do it, the better I get at it.
Better I get at it.
Yep,
Just takes practice.
Yeah.
Like
life
Bambi said
program.
earlier, it's not some magic miracle just because you said the prayer out loud that's written in the book that it's going to go away.
No.
No. This is a constant process through journaling and being self-aware.
Yes, the process of being self-aware. I like how
I like that
say
too.
that. Process of being self-aware. And this has to be, and again, you don't do this step and you're done. Just like everything, all these other steps, you have to be constantly aware of things that are going on. You have to constantly be aware of, okay, what's its situation gonna bring me? I always say this, and I said it on Rob's meeting last night, guys. What good purpose will this serve me, right? If it's good or bad, what good purpose is me going to argue with and I'm bringing that up because it literally just happened before we came onto the show. What good purpose is this going to serve if I make her turn around? I'm going to feel good because I had control and I told her to turn around, but that's it. And it would have had a negative effect on everything else. So the good purpose, what I did was
timing how long it took her to get there.
Exactly. I need my wallet. What do I need my wallet for? Yeah, what do I need my wallet for? There's no money in it anyways. What the fuck?
I might as well
really?
get drunk today because I'm so pissed off.
Exactly.
It would have set a precedence for your whole day.
Yeah, it would have. And hers.
It would have set a precedence. Yeah. And for her day.
And for her day and her worker's day, because then she's going to be pissed off at the girl who maybe didn't serve somebody right, or maybe her friend or this and that and the other thing. And that rolls, like Tip said earlier, the shit rolls downhill. Right.
And it can roll uphill too, positively in a different way. Like you said, how all the positive things that came out of this situation with you and Sam. And then it's like the same things, like just because I've started doing this through my life and journaling and being self-aware, now all of a sudden I'm eating healthier. I'm doing things, just all these positive things start going the other way too. So it goes in both directions.
Yeah, it does.
When you're working the step appropriately and really putting effort into it. And it's not always good. Sometimes I'm just irritated and I wake up crabby and things like that. It happens.
Yeah, but we're human beings, and it's life on life terms, and it's it's all that AA bullshit that those slogans that we don't want to hear, but all those slogans are so true. Every time something comes up in my life, or some situation I can't control, and they are so true. I don't know where they got these slogans from, but it's just crazy how they just fit into our lot. My life, I don't want to say everybody's life, my life just perfectly when I need them. When I need them, they're there. You know what I mean? And it makes me slow down.
Let go and let God doesn't mean I have to accept the behavior and act as if it was okay.
Yeah.
It just means I can change what happens and turns it into an asset.
Exactly. Turning things into an asset. So, and I think that's the big theme for this show. And this step is turning our shortcomings into assets. So we're going to talk more about this next week, but we're going to have Jeff on with us next week. He is our resident therapist and all around kind of nice guy. And I'm sure Jeff will have a lot to talk about this step from a clinical standpoint of view, because, we really had today, it kind of was a a counseling session on here. We were talking about our shortcomings, right? We were all talked about our shortcomings and what they did for us positively and negatively. And that we can get into a little bit more with Jeff, how that can completely change our lives and kind of why we should think of the positive instead of the negative. Well, we all know that, but from a clinical standpoint of view with Jeff.
And then in week 3, we'll talk about what my shortcomings really are.
Oh, that's gonna be a short show. I have none. I'm just perfect.
My perfectionism.
Yeah, exactly. There they are. That's yours and mine, Tiff. That's yours and mine. You should see some of our text messages back and forth. I would love to put some of those out, right, Tiff?
Especially when you're talking and texting.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it? Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. What?
Oh my God. Well, ladies, I think this was a great show. Thank you, Bambi, for coming on and being a guest host.
Thank you.
We appreciate it and all your hard work. I contacted Bambi. I said, "You want to be a guest host?" "Oh, sure." And then I contacted her again, like a couple hours. Like, "I am doing so much studying. I have this, that, the other thing." Like, oh my God, welcome to our world, right?
We appreciate it.
We do, absolutely. So, any
Doesn't
closing
it make you
words?
Feel good and refreshed, though.
Yeah.
It does. You learn so much. I mean, I learned so many things, and it's like, oh yeah.
It's different intimate perspective on it.
Absolutely. Any closing words on step 7, ladies, before
absolutely
we have anything you guys want to say?
Great show.
Yes.
I'm going to be very humble today.
Great show.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I'm going to be surrounded by a lot. I got a lot of, this is my biggest trigger time right now is 4th of July.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's real. Real life is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's big crowds of people, and we're going there and we're bringing the kids to the carnival, and there's just 100,000 people there. It's just,
wow.
It's crazy.
So step 7 will come in very handy tonight.
Yes.
At the car show.
At the 4th of July celebration.
The 4th of July celebrations. Yes. And
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America. Absolutely. And we'd like to thank everybody here on Facebook, all 2 of you. No, I think there's more than 2. There's like 5 or 8 people. John said, great podcast. I learned something today. Jordan, great show. Excellent start to the weekend, right? Hey, that's pretty good. Bambi, you did an amazing job, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah.
But Beth says Bambi. Yeah. So, guys, step 7, I hope we kind of cleared up what shortcomings are, what humility versus a humble versus humiliation might be. If you do have any questions on that, again, these are just our opinions. These are what we learned throughout all of our sobriety, what our sponsors taught us, what we learned in the rooms. And if you have any questions or any concerns, or if you want to learn more, please get a hold of us. Email us. What's that? Type below. What do we say? Comment below. And whatever you guys want, we're here for you. Again, these are just our opinions, and that's just our point of view.
Bunch of nobody's talking about nothing.
Exactly. The knowledge that we gain from other people in AA and other people in recovery. So, well, that's it, guys. We're gonna end the show here, and have a great 4th of July weekend. And stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.